Hi everyone, it's FSketcher fashion drawing tutorials, and in this lesson we're going to render this look from Kenzo Spring 2018 Ready to Wear collection. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial. So let's start. I'm drawing the face. Like, this is going to be a very basic catwalk pose. If you want to know how I draw faces, then check out face drawing tutorial on FSketcher YouTube channel. So right now I'm adding your eyewear. So there a little bit the frames go outside of outline of her head, so they're covering her ears. Then she has some earrings in the shape of flowers and quite a volumized head. So next I'm adjusting the angles of her shoulders and her hips. Usually hips and shoulders have opposite slope direction. So, and 3.6 shoulder width and 1.6 is the width of her waist. And usually the distance till shoulders is 1.5 centimeters, till waist 4.5 centimeters, and till the hip line is 7 centimeters starting from her chin. So I'm just showing in a very fast way, because in many tutorials I'm showing how to draw this fashion pose, and actually there is like a separate tutorial for that. Your right knee is at the same level as your right neckline, so just beneath it, and the ankle is in the middle, so on the same level as your chin. If you make a long central line, they will lay on the same line, her chin and her ankle. And the other ankle is just in the middle of that lower part of your right side leg. Both of your arms, the upper part, I'm making them parallel to her body. And after the elbow, I make them a little bit, I bend them so they follow the shape of your body. And this arm is going to be just slightly to the side so we can see the whole hand. I actually never showed the drawing process of the model. That's why I'm including this process in the latest tutorials, because there was such a request, but I have separate tutorials for the body drawing. So right now I'm drawing her dress, and here she has these ruffles, and there is a V cut, and just take a look at how it goes on the top of your chest, so how much that cut reveals. So, and here we have more ruffles, like smaller ones, collar, and there is some necklace also in the shape of flowers. With a pencil, later we'll outline everything with a fine liner. So here's your sleeve part, flounces. And here your dress is not slim tight, it's a bit loose. And here there is one more, like, lower part of your skirt that is a bit widening. I'm starting just above of your knee and drawing this bell shape, so it's just a fold, and this is the back part. And actually I want to make it a little bit wider, so let's just erase here and make it more of a straight. And on the other side, to emphasize your hips a little bit more prominent. And here are her shoes. So just follow me. The shoes, her shoes are a bit flat, so I didn't draw her feet that long. And trying to show the texture of her hair, I'm making curly outline. So, and let's get rid of all the pencil, we don't need it anymore. I outlined everything with 0.1 nib fine liner. Next, I'm using satin color for her skin, and first I'm just showing all the shadows. Nose, cheekbones, under her chin, the sides of her arms, under her hair, under her glasses, nose bridge where it's visible. And then I'm just covering everything, including the shadows, with one solid layer of marker. So where we have shadows, there will be 2 layers of marker and it's gonna be dark. And I partially color that body part, the chest part, as there is a transparent fabric. Now I'm spreading burnt orange, which is dark orange, on some solid surface. It can be metal or plastic, doesn't matter. And I'm using blender marker, which is a colorless marker, and I mix it with orange and a little bit with black, and I color the upper part. And then bit by bit I go down when my blender has less of the pigment. So you spread the whole pigment on the top, and then you go lower and you get this gradient. Next, I'm using white ink gel pen for the frames, just to make them completely white, adding extra shadows with the satin color, and with white ink gel pen adding the highlights on her face, her lips. I usually like actually making super white the eye part, even though she has glasses. Next, I'm using orchid color, and I don't cover everything. I'm leaving some stripes as the top of the folds, because there we have highlights and I want them to be light. For your dress, first layer, the lightest blue, is a powder blue. So you can, out of all the markers that you have, you can pick the lightest blue, or if you want to use some other color, then the lightest. Next, I'm using purple pencil and just adding some extra shadows on her face, under her chin again. Next blue that I'm going to use is a cobalt blue. So I'm adding some shadows where they are supposed to be, where we have the wrinkles, and I'm also adding some extra lines, because this fabric, it looks like a wrinkled newspaper. So as a result, we will have wrinkles not only where they're supposed to be, like near the seams, or where there is draping, but also on the surface of the fabric. That's why I'm adding extra lines on the fabric too. So next is a royal blue. So I'm adding mostly where we have those ruffles. Not that much on the surface of the fabric, because the surface has very soft shadows, not that dark ones. So as you can see, it's all around those ruffles. So this is royal blue. So next is a cobalt blue again. I want just to add more of it. And the next part of the work is using white ink gel pen. I'm showing the edges of these ruffles. I'm going to add extra texture. Everywhere where we have just powder blue, where we have the light part, scribbling. No, not round lines, but more zigzag-ish. So, and sometimes I show the tops of the, like any fabric wrinkles. For example, at your waistline there is some draping. So usually draping and many small folds. And top of the folds is usually like a light, because it has highlights, right? So that's what I'm showing. So edges of the ruffles, then some texture on the light area, and top of the draping. I'm using the same powder blue as a base for her skirt, the lower part of her dress. And I'm using just a dark gray fine liner to show the actually black stripes on her tights. So you can use black. I'm using fine liner because it's easier to control. The nib of a marker is a little bit too thick for that. Take into account the shape. Sometimes the tights, the pattern need to change the direction depending on her body shape. Next, I'm drawing the texture of the fabric with a cobalt marker on her skirt, and well, basically it's going to look like a mountain range, like many mountains. That's how I would explain what I'm drawing right now. So you draw the general outline of the mountain, then you add some strokes on its side, leaving some highlights. So this is a really wrinkled fabric, but with a silk made of silk fiber. As a result, it is shiny and soft, but has these, more variation of shadows and highlights because of the wrinkles. And the lower part here we have the fold inside. So just a little bit on the side, because usually sides darker. And with royal blue, I'm going to add extra shadows where, for example, here, because of the movement, she has a bit deeper folds there, like wrinkles. So I'm making them a bit darker. And on the sides, and next, I'm going to use white ink gel pen. And well, basically, I'm going to draw these diagonal strokes. I'm mostly covering the light area. And sometimes, when there are like small wrinkles inside of dark area, I'm making a small, like a path of tiny diagonal strokes. So, and yeah, and in the end you'll get this very unique texture. And in order again to soften a bit that white highlights, I'm using powder blue and covering almost everything, because it's so light, it really doesn't give that much of a pigment to the white. So next I'm using indigo pencil, so which is like dark blue pencil, and adding some really small wrinkles and also some diagonal strokes between those light ones. And some shadows inside of some folds. You can do that with a pencil that matches your marker colors. A little bit more of blue. Next, I'm using purple pencil for the other detail of your dress, the more translucent one. I'm showing all the folds, and the lines are usually the shadows inside of the folds, and adding some purple marker. So again, inside of the folds where I drew the lines with pencil. And with white pencil, I'm adding some highlights between those dark lines. And with white ink gel pen, adding some tiny strokes. So next we're having this necklace. I colored it with the same cobalt blue. And with warm gray 3, I'm adding shadows on her skin because of those ruffles. And again, with the same satin color that I use for her skin, I'm adding extra shadows. I'm using khaki color for her hair as a base color. So just coloring everything. So while it's drying, I'm adding some highlights. As you can see on her necklace, on those stones, I added highlights with white ink gel pen. Next, I'm using warm gray 5. And where it's really dark, I'm just coloring. A bit higher, where there are some highlights, I'm drawing these curly lines, so there is some uncolored space between. Next, I'm using black pencil and showing the texture, like just, trying to show those curls with the curly strokes, right? So, and as I go to the lighter area, I'm making those curls a little bit less dense. Next, I'm using ice gray 4, just coloring everything, all the really dark details of your sandals. And then I'm using black, coloring on the sides, leaving really tiny path of light on both details. And using warm gray 3 for the sole of your shoes. With white ink gel pen, I'm showing eyelets and all these fastening details. And well, we're done with this sketch, almost just extra shadows on her arms. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, please ask in comment section. I will also be grateful for any of your suggestions. Subscribe to FSketcher channel on YouTube, support it on Patreon, follow on Instagram, like it on Facebook, and see you in the next tutorial.